All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to today's class. And today we'll be looking at a new topic, visual design foundations. So, this is a great topic for we, the product designers. So I hope we learn in this series. So let's look at what we are going to learn. Um, we'll learn how to use color to evoke emotions and guide attention. So we are also going to learn how to set the visual tone with a cohesive mood board. And we'll also learn how to arrange elements to improve user flow. And also how to align content with structured grids. And lastly, font pairing with clarity and tone. So I noticed that most of us, we are having challenges with color mixture, we're having challenges with structuring our layers, and we also have challenges with font pairing. So we might not be able to exhaust this today, but wherever we stop, we'll continue with that in our next class. So let's begin. So what is visual design foundation? Well, this is a very great question that we need to understand why or what a visual design foundation is. So it's because this is one of those things that once you understand it, then everything else in design will start to make a lot of sense. So let's put it this way, that visual design foundation, or VDF for short, is simply the core building blocks. Okay, it is the essential behind any great looking and functional design. So whether you are designing a website, a mobile app, a billboard, or even a flyer, so there are certain principles that guide how we put things together visually. All right. So now let's pause for a moment and then look at think about your favorite applications or website. Then most times when we look at those websites, then we'll be like, why this website looks so clean, and things to find things there are also easy. And most times we go back there, not basically because, oh yes, we actually want to get some things. There are some websites I go back just to go and get inspirations when designing, because while the website layout, everything was just perfect. Okay. So chances are that designers behind those interface followed the principles of VDF, either consciously or intuitively. Okay. So these foundations that we are going to learn today will do two important things. So they will make your design beautiful, and also they'll also make your design functional. Making your design beautiful so that users are attracted to it, and then making your design functional so that users understand and enjoy using it. All right, so something that's only look you really need to master. Let's look at components of visual design foundations. So we have that the core components of VDF are color theory, typography, layer and grid system, spacing and proximity, imagery and iconography, visual hierarchy, balance, contrast, and harmony, consistent. Before we even start with any copy card, let's 62% of all of a user judgment about a product is based on its color alone, and it takes about 90 seconds to form that impression. So when users enter your website or use your product, it's like less than 90 seconds. Like that's how long it takes them for them to judge your product. And how do they judge it, and what are the things they use in judging it? Color alone takes about 62% of it. Okay, so whenever we are designing, let's think about our colors, how we use our colors. Okay, so let's look at creating a color palette for your digital product. So number one, you have to start with a rationale. So before you even touch any color picker, always have a reason behind the color you are choosing. Okay, always have a reason behind the color you're choosing. So document your rationale, keep it written down somewhere that's clear enough for your team members, developers, and stakeholders to understand. This is the pro tip for you before we venture into this. So anything we are going to discuss here, you have to document it. You have to be practical with it. Okay, so we are going to look at the first one to be primary color. So we say that primary color, these are the most predominant color in the palette, since the essence of the product is converged. So picking one or two strong colors can give your application or brand an identity. So basically, primary colors, we use it for branding, we use it for call to action buttons, and we use it for key actions like active states. So example of primary colors is we've seen that CodeCamp is using lemon and blue, and which blue is their primary color. And Instagram has that bold gradient. Okay, and looking at Facebook, they are using a classic blue, and Spotify, well, yeah, if you see a Spotify, you will see green as their brand identity. So that's a primary color. So in essence, what you are saying is that primary color carry the essence of your product. It is what make your product stands out and feels ownable. Okay. So anytime you are picking a color, as I said earlier, think about it first. Like what is the criteria that you are actually picking this color to use as your brand identity? So it's just like in for CodeCamp, anytime you see lemon and blue, like once you just see it, you know, oh, this is CodeCamp. But once you just see that green vibes, even though you don't see the icon very well, you know, oh, that's Spotify brand identity. That's how I can identify them. So that is it. All right. So this is how primary color looks like. This is from my setup of my style guide. Okay, so I have primary color that I call main. I have a 50% of that color. I have 100% of that primary color, 20, 200, 300, 400, 500. So most times, anyways, when we go into it much deeper, we'll understand how and where to use these colors. All right, so let's look at the second one, secondary colors. So this is the supporting cast. We'll call it a supporter of the primary color. Okay, so secondary color serves as complementary colors to support the content in particular settings which do not conflict or compete with the primary colors. So in most cases, they are used for background colors, icon colors, and secondary actions. All right. So so these colors, when choosing, are always typically softer and more neutral than, so that they don't overwhelm the primary colors. All right, so you still want to look, you still want them to look good though. So when you are picking it, look at your primary color, look at the secondary color. Does they match? Don't just pick randomly. Okay, so if your primary color, if your secondary color is stealing attention from this primary one, then it's too strong. Dial the color down. You can dial it by reducing, like taking it up down, the color palette, table and the rest of it. You can just tweak around with the palette. Okay, so this is how the secondary color look like. If we notice this color and that of the primary color, this is not stealing attention. The primary color still stands out on its own. Okay, still stands out on its own. So the secondary color here, what it does is it just blends the interface, makes it not. Okay, apologies guys. Please do confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, so let's continue. So we are on accent color. So we say that these are special colors mostly used for different states or types, such as cautions, success, warning, label messages, and well, other components. So anytime you see red color being used, it's always majorly for delete. I've seen some platforms that they use, I think they use primary color, but the primary color is with a border. Like that's basically that's not helpful when it comes to. Okay, sorry. I think I finished up with the secondary color. Let's see. So let's go back. So it said secondary color is what serves as complementary color to the primary color. So this supports the primary color. So reasons most times why we bring in secondary color is to actually help blend the UI so that the UI will not be more of the primary color and it might look boring that, oh, let's take for an example, we are using blue. So when you open it, it's blue you are seeing throughout. Like everywhere is just blue, just bluing around. So the reason why we now bring in secondary color is to blend that particular interface such that it will not look boring. Okay. So, and note that your secondary color should not steal attention from your primary one. So if you look at the secondary color I am using here, let's go back to this primary color. Look at the primary color here, and also look at the secondary color. You can notice the secondary color is not stealing. The secondary color is not stealing attention from the primary color. Okay, so anytime you choose your secondary color, make sure that it complements the primary color, that it does not outshone himself. Okay, all right, so let's look at Hassan's color. So we said think red for delete, green is mostly used for success, yellow is always used for warning or caution, and blue is used for info. Okay, so you anytime you are designing, think about these things. Users are already used to seeing that red is used for an action that involves danger. Okay, that an action that involves danger. So if you use them in moderation, like in season, or you use it too much, it will ruin the test. So don't just bring in accent color anyhow. So it should be for a purpose. Red should be for what it is for. Green should be what is it for, and yellow should do its work. Okay, and so this is an example of how uh when we say asset color, how it looks like. You can see the green, and you can see the yellow and the red. So most times we might tend to use orange most times for warning, but it will not be that much much bright of an orange. Okay. All right. So this is what we call an asset color. This is how it looks like. So, but there is no one way of arranging your template or arranging your colors, because I know someone is going to ask about that. So there's no one way. You can always tune it how you want to, but what matters is that you have those colors being documented. Okay, so let's look at another type of color, typography color. So as the name suggests, these colors are directly related to typography. So pick typography color which can be used to display the text in the product, like headers, bodies, actions, labels, placeholder, etc. So, and when you think typography colors, you need to have this in mind. You need to have that you'll be looking at headers. So when you look at headers, it will have to do with bold, and it has to be more darker than the body. So body text has to be regular, placeholder has to be lighter, and well disabled. You have to use gray colors and the likes of it. Okay, so looking at an example here, we can see here that we have get in touch. So we see that it is much darker. So that's what we call headers. Okay, so it is much darker and bold. And the second shape we have here, the second text here is the body. So body and header text should not always be the same. All right. So the last one here is our link. So we can call it, yes, it's our link. So anytime you are doing colors for typography, you need to give access to link and the rest of it, or color. You need to put in color for everything, document it, so that the reason why we do this documentation is it's going to help developers, and it's also going to help your team. Okay. All right. So pro tip, always check that your typography colors, always check your typography for contrast. So we have contrast checkers, and so use it to be sure that your color passes test. So when we go into the practical part of it, we are going to see how to use this. We are going to use a plugin in Figma, and also going to use the website to check how to check for this contrast, whether it has passed this contrast check. Okay, so let's look at color inventory. So when we say color inventory, what do we actually mean? What is even color inventory? So the purpose of color inventory is to have a single place where you and your team and different stakeholders can find all the colors of your product with the rationale and use cases. So in addition to inventory, so it helps to avoid, in addition, inventory helps to avoid the overuse of color, and also it helps to ensure consistency. All right, so let's say that you join a team and someone is already working on the UI. So this is where we say we need this color inventory. So the question arises, why do we even need the color inventory? So it's simple. It's for clarity, it's for consistency, and it's for communication. So let's say you join a team and someone's already working on the UI, and you open the design file and see 7 different shades of blue, 3 different grays, and 4 types of red. Now you're thinking, which red is the real red for error messages? So this is a real problem, and it creates confusion, design depth, and also accessibility issues. So when you have started a design, the first thing you should do is document your colors. So that's me personally. I take pleasure in doing what I call design system. So I can spend 2 days in design system just to make sure that everything I need for the design is there. Well, it is possible that we can't get everything, but at the same time, we'll keep on updating the design system. All right. So let's look at complementary colors. What are complementary colors? When we say complementary colors, what are they? Okay, so complementary colors are those helpful colors apart from the primary ones. So these are secondary color, accent color, typography color. So let's look at this rule. Keep complementary colors simple by adding a new color when it's absolutely necessary. Don't just randomly bring in colors because you feel like you need to bring in colors. I saw a design when I was reviewing one of our designs, one of the submissions from you guys, and I dropped a comment. I was like, where is this, like, what is happening here? Because the color she or he was using in this case was outside of the design he or she was doing. It was outside. So I have to ask the question, why this color? Why? What was the idea behind? What was the thinking behind this color? Okay. So don't add a unique color for every new component. So because that will actually lead to chaos. Okay. All right. So here is how you should document your colors properly. So this is a format we should all take note of. So group them by sections. Then write a description per section. Then name every color. Then document the HEX code. Specify the use case. Then also use a shareable platform. Well, in this case, what we use is Figma. So you just go there, it's shareable, and then keep it updated. You can't in one day or in one sitting know every color that you will use. So if there be need that your color changes, make sure it is updated. All right. So if we let's go back to where we had our color here. So if you see on this secondary color that I grouped them. I just said this section is for secondary color. Okay. So and also after that, there's a description where I have written secondary color of a brand, serves as a complement element to the primary color, adding depth and variety to the overall UI identity. Okay, so after that, I now name the color. So we have secondary slash main, that's the main secondary. So we now have the themes of all of them, different variations. Then after that, we now say write document the HEX code. So you can see below there that there's an HEX code. Okay, so another thing you can also always do is think we said you should specify the use cases. So in most times when you are documenting, so tell us that, oh, this color you are using it for your body text, this color you are using it for error messages and the likes of it. And lastly, as we said, keep it updated. All right, so if a color gets changed in your UI, update the inventory. So if the inventory gets changed, updated, then your design is also updated. And if your design has to be updated, so the developers will also be updated in the process. All right, so what are some important practices when it comes to color? So we have number one, to be balanced. So primary color is actually your signature, but overusing it can be a big mistake. So we say that primary color is important, but overusage of it is a common mistake. So your product should have balance and contrast in a way that you can highlight the important elements such as actions and active state, um and avoid in all other cases to ensure um appropriate usability. All right, so for example, if everything is blue, the header, the buttons, icon, text, and well, nothing stands out. So use your primary color intentionally. So this is when you use it to highlight call to action buttons or call to action text and links, active state, and well, in some areas we use it for backgrounds. Okay, so design is basically about balance, which has to do with contrast and hierarchy. So look at this particular image here. You can see that the primary color here is 20% of just 20% of usage here. Okay, and the complementary color is 70% and others is just 10%. So you can see how neat the UI is. So when you are using your colors, be intentional with the use. So we now look at the second one, which has to do with shadows and light. So we said here that shadows are never black. Most times we feel that, oh, it's compulsory that our shadows must be black. Well, it is not black and it is not white. So use your shadow wisely and don't get too excited and overuse it. Most times I see our design when I was reviewing it, the shadow was too much, and most times it will look as if your cards are floating, like the cards are just jumping out of the content. So if you look at this design here, the shadow is being used and it's being used wisely. Okay, so when you are using shadow and light, this is instead of using pure black or white, so just play with maybe your gray colors, that is your complementary colors, your secondary colors, and your primary colors. Just be playing around with it. So but don't actually go wide with shadow, because they can bring in distractions to users. All right, so let's look at color accessibility. So not everyone sees color the same way. So it is important to remember that different people perceive color in different ways. Color blind people can't perceive the same colors that most of the people do. So this sensory deficiency remains to people that are not able to differentiate between certain colors. So that's why we use tools like colorsafe.co to check contrast against WCAG standards. And we also use Stack, which is a plugin in Figma. Okay, this actually stimulates color blindness and check accessibility. So make sure that your colors are accessible for others. So for everyone, not just majority. So make it that everyone can understand and also access the color. Okay. So if look at contrast is look, you can see that the first example here that we have green and white. So you can see that it has passed the contrast test. It has high contrast. So you can see that the ratio is showing 4.89 and normal. So the text is it has passed, the color has also passed. So but if you look at the image below, you can see that it has low contrast and the ratio you can see is 1.51, where it has not passed, the color has not passed anything, nothing has actually passed. All right. So anytime we are designing, we have to check for this particular accessibility, color accessibility. So finally for this section, strive for consistency. All right. So color can be a helpful finding tools for your users. So it's a good idea to use the same color for similar intents, like the same color for action components like link and buttons. So by so doing, you help your users to recognize interactive elements. So imagine this, that on page A, all buttons are green. On page B, they are purple. On page C, they are red. So it's inconsistent and most users will be thinking, oh, what is this color for? Is this actually a, a button that is going to direct me to where I'm going to? So let's be consistent when using our colors. All right, so imagine a form that uses red for required fields, red for warning, and red as the submit button. So what do you think a new user will feel at that moment? So users will feel confused and possibly overwhelmed. Okay, so that's why consistency, clarity, and accessibility should be our best friend in color design. All right, so we are done with color. So the second part of this visual design foundation is layout. So um, imagine, so well, what is actually this layout? When we say what a layout, so what is layout? So say layout is a way how we arrange the elements to guide the readers through the interface. So layouts can be used in different contexts to drive different intents to order to improve the productivity and efficiency of the design from the user side. So the summary of all these languages and all this grammar is that layout is equals to visibility guidance. Okay, so it is the way of we designers saying, oh, hey user, this is where to look first, then look here, and now click that. Okay, so it is a well thought through layout. So when we think through our layout, it's going to increase usability, it's going to increase clarity, and it's also going to increase productivity for the users. So let's look at this scenario. So have you ever been to a bank? Of course, well, all of us, we have done that. So think about the way they work behind the counter. So there is an assembly line and each worker has a specific task in a specific spot. Okay, so that's layout in option. So what it does is it's optimized for speed. So it's clear who does what and where. So it increases profits by improving workflow. And now think about the app interface the same way. So this image here shows you how banking system works. So we now see people at the other bank. When you go there, a person is attending to you to as customer care, and then you stand on the line. Another person is getting the cash. Another person is checking your check. So this is called layout. This is a real life scenario of what we mean by layout. Okay, so now think that every button, every section, every image as a row in your design, and it has to be placed intentionally to improve well flow and efficiency. All right. So let's look at examples of layout. So number one, we have one column layout. So it says in this design, multiple sections are highlighted. We are going to show you this with a red outline. So even though the layer only use one column, the entire 12 column grid. So this is because the elements inside do not have a fixed structure, such as table, navigations bar that have dynamic measurements and alignment. So depending on the content, it is fine to have one column layouts that avoid confusion and properly neutralize the real state of the screen. So when do we use this? So use this when you don't need complex division. So use this when you want to avoid confusion, and also use this when you want full width content like banner, header, or large media. Okay, so this is an example of a one grid, a one column layout. Okay, so we see if we count the grid system there, it is 12. And we now see how everything is just aligned by it. So we says that you use this in most times in hero sections and the likes of it. All right, so we look at the second type of layout, second column, two columns. So this layout could be symmetric. So that's when we divide screens into equal part, that's 6 divided by 6. Remember, we have 12, so that will be 6, 6. So, and we'll be looking at an example on the next two slides, which will have a two-column layout that has a symmetric distribution, okay, which is 9 by 3. Okay, so this is because the component has more hierarchy, and it's also the main interaction part of the design. So the idea is to split your content meaningfully. Don't just split it anyhow. For an example, one side can be for text, the other side can be for an image, form, or a sidebar. So this is our symmetric view, which is when we say we divide it 6 by 6. Okay, so you can see on this part we have our image, on this part we have our text. And then the second one here is what is showing our asymmetric view. We said it is 9 by 3. So we can now see that this other section is larger than this other section because of what we want to show. So it's if we, or let's assume we're using symmetry in this case, it will not make sense. It will not make sense, except you have to bring in new features to arrange the stuff however you want to. But looking at this, this is a better way of displaying this product to users, because users are going to now use it intentionally. So remember when we said split your screen, split it meaningfully. So don't just randomly think, oh, let me place this here. Let it have and let it be intentional. All right. So more content should be what should or more the important content should be what should have the most space. All right. So let's look at the multi-column layout. Multi-column layout. So now this is where you are dealing with complex dashboards, learning platform, home pages, etc. So this is where design dynamics happens. So multiple sections uses different layouts on the same screen to keep the interface engaging, easy to scan, efficient. And again, the grid supports it all. So you still need structure even under this flexibility. So looking at this example, so we see that we have our 6 by 6 splitting of screen. We have, like we've seen it, that it is a multi-column layout. So these sections and however it is being arranged, it was intentional. Okay. So text by the right, your hero section, and then, sorry, text by the left, image by the right, and then we now have this why choose us learn a new language and the features that comes with the why choose this platform and our successes. So it was intentional when this was being designed. So let's look at this the box model. So what do we mean by box model? So this model covers all the specifications that a box should have in order to be laid out in your design. So these are also the specifications that developers will use to compose your design in code. So these always have margins, borders, paddings, and dimensions. So Figma has made it possible that we designers don't do this again. So if you switch your Figma to developers mode, you will see those options there. So you will see the grid. It looks exactly something like this. That when a user clicks on maybe a particular content in the design, is now going to show, oh, this border, this is the percentage is holding, or the pixel, the point, depending on what type of measurement is being used. All right. So let me give you the practical rules that pro designers follow. So always use a consistent scale when doing your layout. So always use multiples of 8. We have what we call the 8-point system. So multiples of 8, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, etc. So this has to align with your grids and then it will keep things tidy. So also snap everything to a grid. Don't eyeball placement. Use grid lines for precisions. So don't let your design move outside your grid. And also create usable and reusable templates. So for consistency across screens, and this will also help you work faster. So most times when I design, after creating one screen, I duplicate it, then change the content on the other one so that there has to be consistency on the arrangement and the layout. All right. So define layout rules. So you can say that either section will take 25% of the screen, or form field will use 4 columns with etc. depending on whatever you want to. And also prioritize your sections. So ask the questions like, what does users need to see first? And what is actually more important in this particular product? Recall, let's go back to that image. So recall here, users who want to see, oh, why would I actually want to choose, or why would I want to do anything with this application? So the first thing when a user opens is actually the hero section. So that's why if your hero section is not captivating enough, users will not be intrigued to go through it. Okay. And after the hero section, okay, let's say your hero section was not captivating enough, you'll be like, oh, let me just give it a benefit of doubt. Let me go down. So what it now sees is now sees our success stories that, oh, 15,000 plus students has successfully graduated, and if they have 95% of success while enrolling using this platform, and we have 25 plus number of experts, and then we have operated for 15 years. Now this is now giving the users benefit of doubt that, oh, for the fact that these people have been in existence for 15 years, that means they have experience in what they are doing, and the people have succeeded 95%, like they have 95% of success. So these are things user wants to see. So anytime you are designing, think of the important sections. So what do users want to see? All right. So a quick checklist. So when you are on your layout design, set your grid system first. Then define what your layout would look like. Okay. Then use the measurement in multiples of 8. Don't use 8, then another one use 10, and the rest. Be consistent. If you are using 8, then you want to go higher, then it should be 16, not 12, not 10. Then after that, it should be after 16 to be 24. So you move in that hierarchy. All right. So prioritize content sections. Okay. Then document layout rules and use cases. This is where most of us we don't like, and we give developers problems because developers will now have to go and sort out ways to see what it meant. Oh, what is this place? How did they come about here? And so when you are actually designing your layout, give use cases and also make your layout reusable, and also always align to the grid. Don't go outside the grid system. All right. So now we've come to introduction of grid. So, and the truth is we cannot talk about layouts without grids. Okay. So we cannot talk about layouts without grid. So let's see, what is grid. So we said grids are just a group of lines and they are arranged horizontally and vertically as required. So these lines have intersections that divide the page into spaces where we can place design elements, aligning them with each element or the artwork. So a user might not see the grid line, but trust me, if those grid lines are off, the design will feel messy, disorganized, and unbalanced. Okay, so anytime you are using grid, we can say that grid is simply a set of horizontal and vertical lines that help us align elements properly, maintain consistent spacing, organize content clearly, and also scale design across screens. So in digital designs, especially in this our field UI UX, so we mostly use vertical grids to divide our board into columns and gutters. All right. So we said here that the grid is the invisible guide that holds your UI together. If your design does not go, or your layout or whatever content you're putting in is going outside of the grid system, it will look messy. Okay. So we have to follow the grid whenever we are using it. So what are columns and gutters? What are columns and what are gutters? So we said, how do you feel? How do you make sure every screen in your app looks aligned, balanced, consistent if you are working with a team? So let me hear from us. How do we do it? Apart from grid system, well, which I think most of us use grid system. And what else do we use? Anybody, like, what else do you use instead of grid system to make sure that your screens are aligned? Let me see. Okay. Is there anybody that can go through this? Okay, so goodness uses ruler, Theophilus, a design system. So when you say design system, what do you mean by design system? So what is design system? So when you say design system, that's like a family of other systems. So design system is a family of systems. So goodness, well, he uses ruler. Okay, and who else? Is there anybody else that uses okay, auto layout? Okay, auto layout. Well, yes, that works too. Margins. Well, when you say margin, what do you use in getting the margins? Like, so okay, center alignment, vertical and horizontal alignment. Well, these are all ways we can make sure our application looks aligned, balanced, and consistent. Well, so the answer is through the use of grids. Mostly it is grid, and it is very easy using grid. Okay. So grid helps us align our visual, it helps us align our text, buttons, icons. It also ensures uniformity across devices and resolutions, and also makes handoff to developers very smooth. You'll not have problem with developers this um when you use this system. Well, yes, constraints. Yes, well, yeah, that's true. Constraints does that work, but that's a very advanced way of doing it. Okay, so we proceed. So why do we use grids? So let's in order to have consistency in spaces and visual design. So take visual design takes the grids to another level, transforming those lines into columns splitting screens into vertical divisions that are separated by spaces called gutters. All right. So columns are the guides to align our visual components, and gutters ensures consistent spacing between them. So which um after these two things, it helps and allows us to arrange the design and display the information structure. Okay, so let's look at standard grid system. We have been talking about grids. So what are these? What are grids? Like what are the standard systems of grids that exist? So now there are a few grid systems that designers and developers use again and again. So because this particular system just work and it does not stress users. So the first system is 16 column grid. So as there are 16 columns, so there can be a lot of layout variations when using grids, but unfortunately, as a limitation, it cannot be divisible into three parts, which makes it less flexible than other systems. Okay, so if you can say 16 divided by 3, well, that doesn't give us equal parts. Okay, so this particular grid system does not make it that flexible for developers and users. So this is how 16 columns looks like. So all right, so this is how it looks like. It's large and well, we see how it is. So the next column that we know is 12 column grid. So this is the most popular. And well, it is the one we use mostly because it's flexible. And it's possible to divide into 2, 4, 5, 6, and well, 12, which is one column, and 6 is that is two column grid. Okay. So also developers use the same system while programming most of the digital product. Design with the same system is ideal for communication between design and development. So this is how 12 columns look like, which is the most popular. Because if we use 12, that will give us well 1440 and the likes of it. Okay. So the next one is 24 columns. So it has more possibility of having layout variations, but at the end it works the same as 12 columns. It's just more of the columns, well, but it is actually the same thing as 12 column system. Okay, so this is basically how it looks like when you want to create a 24 column grid system. And also we have what we call baseline grid. Well, this is, we said, let's shift from vertical columns to horizontal flow. So this is actually an horizontal column. So a baseline grid is a series of horizontal lines that define where text or component should sit vertically. Okay, so just like music has rhythm. So your design needs a vertical reading, consistent line spacing that makes content easy to read. So use it especially with typography for clean alignment. So it's being used vertical. It's being used when it comes to text in terms of typography mostly. Okay. So let's look at this is how it looks like. So this is your bus line grid. Okay. So this is, you can see how this helps in alignment of text of our typography. All right, so let's look at gutters as a subheading. So gutters are not for putting content, but they are for spacing only. So when you create your columns, or when you create your grids, so the spacing between those grids length or margin is what we call gutters. So gutters are margins. Okay, so gutters varies across breakpoints. So when we say breakpoints, we are talking about what particular device are you working with? Is it the desktop? Is it the tablet, or is it the mobile? So but gutters are always smaller than columns. All right, so your gutters, which is your margin, should not be bigger than your column. So always place element from the edge of a column to the edge of another column. So never inside a gutter. So don't stop in a gutter where the gutter is, where in the middle or whatsoever. Take your element from the beginning of where maybe your column start to where it end, like wherever you want to. Don't place it, because if you place it inside the gutter, it's going to change your arrangement, or it's not going to be consistent. Okay. All right. So let's look at what are breakpoints. When we say breakpoints, remember when we said that gutters varies across breakpoints. So what is this breakpoint? Okay. So we said breakpoints are the screen sizes where your layout should change to stay readable and usable. So for an example, for mobile, we have that mobile is less than or equals to 480. Any screen that is bigger than that is not mobile. That's tablet. Well, and tablet is 600 to goodness will come to your question. So tablets and 600 to 768 pixel, and small gutters small laptops are 1024 pixel. Then large laptops, well, that this is what mostly we use in our design. So, and we use mobile, like mobile, I use think 357. Is it 375, 357? Between that, well, that's what we use mostly. So you must design a layout that adapts to each of these points. Okay, so when doing your grids or when doing your columns, your grids, so be sure that it adapts to all these breakpoints. So this is why when we create responsive grids, so that our grid flexes to fit these different screens. I hope we are still following. So this is an image to illustrate to show what we mean. So phones, well, and the likes of it, just an image. So let's proceed to how to calculate a grid system. So this is where we are going to do a little calculation, and while preparing for this lesson, I was like, oh wow, so this is we do this. Truth be told, personally I don't do it. I just create my, because I know it offhand already. So what I just do, I just do my stuff as I want it to, and then proceed with my life, and then make my design and to come out smoothly. But how do we create this? So to approximately set up grid system, we have to set some parameters which will define the size of columns and gutters. So when you are creating one, you have to consider the following. So number of columns, usually 12 or 24. Numbers of gutters. Please take note of this. So that's why I said let's come with pen, because we are going to do small maths together. So and then we have number of gutters, NG. So we said the formula for NG is equals to NC, which is number of columns minus 1. So if we're using 12 columns, so that will be 12 minus 1, which will give us 11 gutters. All right. So gutter size is always multiples of 4 or multiples of 8, like 12, 16. Okay, multiples of 4. Well, 4, 12, 16, 24, and the likes of it. And we also have what we call safe area, SA. So this is your margin. Okay. So the space from the edge of the screen to the start and end of the grid. So match these tips. So match this with the gutter size, or keep it as a multiple of 8. So you can match it maybe with 4, or you can also make it as a multiple of 8. All right. So column size, which is CS. Once you know the screen width, safe area and gutter size, you can calculate how wide each column should be. Okay, so this is what we mean. So look at the diagram for it here. So this is gutters, this is a safe area. You can see the label. This is what we call column. So let's have this at the back of our mind as we proceed. Okay, so this is a formula in solving for your column size. Okay, so we have that C, which is your column size, equals to screen resolution minus open and close bracket gutter size multiplied by number of gutters, close bracket, plus open bracket safe area multiply by 2, close bracket, divided by number of columns. Okay, so let's see how we practicalize this. So let's look at an example. So this example says, given a screen resolution of 1440 pixels for desktop and using a 12 column grid system with a gutter width of 24 pixels and a safe area of 12 pixels on each side. So what will be the width of each column? So using this formula, let's see. So we said that C equals to S open bracket G times NG plus SA times 2 divided by number of columns. So we have extracted our parameters. For those of us that studied engineering or that are still studying engineering or physics or mathematics whatsoever, well, for those arts people, I don't know how you will cope with this. Okay, so extracting this is now going to help us understand well how to move around with this. So our S has been given, which we say our S is what? What is our S, please? You can unmute and talk. Let me see if you are following. What is S? Anybody? What is S? Well, yes, it's 440, but what do we call it? So it is well, yeah, people are telling me 1440 when it is here already. What when we said S is the screen resolution. Okay. So our screen resolution that we are working with is a desktop screen resolution. Okay. So which has 1440 width. That's and then also our G, which is what is our G? Our gutter size is 24 pixel, and we don't have number of NG is what? Let me see if we are following. What does it stand for, NG? Anybody can unmute. So I prefer us unmuting than using the chat. So number of gutters is NG. So what is SA? Okay, so SA is safe area. Then NC, which is 12, is what? Number of counts. Ha. Well, it's number of columns. Count. Well, that can still go, but well, let's go with the terminology. So it's number of columns. Okay, so what are we looking for? We are looking for NG first. We need to actually find this NG before we now go into looking for the before we now go looking for what our C. Before now it used to be X that is missing, but now it is C that we are looking for. All right. So let's proceed. So let's see. So we've been given this. And now recall that ng equals to nc minus 1, which is equals to 12. So now is equals to 11. So now we have gotten our, yes, thank you, Mr. Yemi. So we've gotten our ng. So now remember the formula. So this is where I am going to pause for a moment and then wait for, then see what answer we are going to have. All right, let's do the calculation. What is our C here? I have given you guys the parameters. So calculate it and then give me what your C is. Okay, well, yes, there is math in design though. Theophilus says 97. Okay. If if you don't know how to use board mass, well, that's your problem. Oh. You need to know how to use board mass to actually solve this. Okay, yeah. Okay, GBK says that with the rule of board mass 96. Okay. So we are having, so I should be expecting the next answer should be 95. Let me get one last answer, then we now proceed. Should be 95, I guess, because Theophilus had 97 and GBK has 96. Okay, so 95 coming. Okay, I've gotten my last response. So my last response says 96 should be correct. Should be, oh yeah, sure it is 96. Okay, so with the use of board mass, uh, so how do we actually solve this? Let me see. Theophilus, I think yes, we have more of 90. Oh, Afedili says 97. Mr. Yemi 100. Ah, what happened to 95? 100, interesting. So let's look at this together. Who is very confident of how to have this, how he or she got to this? Then come and explain it for the class. Who can go? Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Is anybody that can try to explain it?
Good evening.
Anybody?
Good evening.
Okay, good evening.
Yeah. When you want to apply board mass, you go with the bracket first. So the brackets are 24 by 11. So when you sub both brackets, which is 24 by 11 plus 12 by 2, that's 288. Then what's equal? What you subtract. So when you subtract, it gives us 1512 divided by 12, so 96. So if you follow it, bracket or of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So I think that's how it's reached 96.
Okay, thank you, GBK. So let's give a hand of applause to her. She's correct. But I heard 1112. Shebi is 1152. Okay.
I said
All right, so
1052 divided by 12.
okay, my bad. All right, so the answer is 96 pixel. So when you solve it, so your width is going to be for each column, the length is going to be 96 pixel wide. All right, so let's look at the second one. So we've been given our screen resolution to be 768, which this is supposed to be for a tablet. So that's my bad. And then we have our G to be 16, then our SA to be 8, and what's our C? So let's find our C. What is our C? Then I should be giving gifts. So let's see. Maybe the person that wins, I'll give him one free ebook, one free costly ebook. Who is that just dropped message? Please, don't come and win my gifts this early. Ah, AGBK 48. How now? Are you AI? Okay. 48. Let's see. Anybody else who wants to challenge this answer? Okay, so JBK, let's see. Who else is coming up? Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Yemi 48. So well, let's proceed. So we have 48 to be the answer from the trainees. So let's see. Well, 48 is correct. So after using the board mark, so the spacing between your tablet screen is going to be of the column is going to be 48. So, well, Goodness was asking, inside design mathematics, well, there you are. Most times, if I want to reduce my shapes, and if I'm using a frame, or I want to remove the frame, I want to have the right let's say I was not using a grid system. What I do is I use math. So I will divide it by 2. I can multiply it by whatever number I want to multiply, and it will increase. That's Figma helps us with that. It works with math. Like you can multiply the number, the present number by a number, and whatever element you want to increase or decrease is going to decrease or reduce or even divide. So yes, math is there in design. All right, so I remember when I talked about the 8 points grid system. So when we say the 8-point grid system, what is it? So designers love 8-point grid system because it is easy to align elements, also easy for developers to implement. It's also scalable and consistent. So anytime you are using grid point system, use it in a multiple, that's 8 pixels. So it was always for margin, padding, font sizes. So when you are using font sizes, increase it by 8. So most of us we make that mistake. So even our component sizes, increase it by 8. If your smaller button is 40, then the other one should be 48, be 48, 56, and so on and so forth. Okay. So we have what we call fluid grid. So what is this fluid grid? So let's say you resize your browser window and everything just adjusts beautifully. So that is what we call fluid grid. So unlike fixed grids and fluid grids, let columns resize dynamically as screen changes. So it is perfect for modern web app and multi-device designs. All right, so now let's look at introduction to typography as part of the visual design foundation. All right, so we said typography is everywhere. It is how we consume information from social media message to a book, a YouTube caption, a food menu, or even the logo on your shoes. Well, even this slide that we are currently looking at. So now when we talk about digital products, typography becomes even more crucial. So from 70% to 90% of what makes up most user interface is typography. Okay? Now, so if your design doesn't look great or isn't performing well, chances are your typography might be the reason. So that's why most times when we are designing, we should always be careful of the font we choose. There's a particular product I worked on, and the developer was actually praising me. And after a while, he now said, "Oh, that the reason why this is actually um, looking well and neat is because, well, the typography is given. So when you are combining typography, combine typography that matches, and if you are using one typography, use one. Okay, so we have what we call the dream. Okay, so what is this graph? What is graph? So we said to talk about typography, we have to know what graphs are. So graphs is a small unit of typography. It represents a particular letter, number of symbol for an example, A, and the number 5, or the symbol dollar. So that is what we call graph. All right. So let's understand type families and versus typefaces. So most of us, most designers, not are always confused with type families. What's the difference between type families? What is typefaces, and the likes of it? Okay, so think of a type family like a family name. So let's say Inter. Inter is the family name. So within that family, you'll find different members of the family, which can be inter regular, inter bold, inter Italian, and well, each variation has bold, light, italic, and well, this is a typeface of that family, Inter. So inter, it's a type family, and then interregular, interbold, inter-Italian, and the italic and the rest of it is a typeface. All right. So we said here that type family is the whole crew, and then typeface is one specific style from that crew. All right. So typography has personality. So next time when you want to design, ask yourself, how do the brand how do you want the brand to sound when it speaks through words? Do you want it to be professional? Do you want it to be playful? Do you want it to be serious? Do you want it to be friendly? So the typeface you choose actually send messages before the words are even read. There are type of typefaces you will see, and then like you will not want to actually read because it will be distracting and what and not giving. So choose your typefaces well when designing. So the anatomy of a good typography. So this is how does typography communicate emotions. So to ensure readability, appeal, and written language readability, typography uses multiple factors to arrange the typeface and glyph to meet this objective when displayed. So below are the main components we will explore for the design of the type form. So we have keying, we have tracking, we have leading, and then we also have a weight. All right, so let's look at the first one. So when we say keying, what does it mean? So this refers to the amount of space between two letters or other characters, could be number, could be punctuation, etc. So, and to the process of adjusting the space to avoid bumbling looking gaps between your letters to improve readability. So if you look at the first image to the left, we can see that do not have it's a text without kindling, and also the second one is a text with kindling. All right. So most times I've, I've, have you ever seen maybe a logo that where the letter fell too apart from each other or awkwardly too close? So that issue is because of kindling. So proper kindlings improve balance and makes word easier to read. Okay. So the second one is tracking. So the space between grief, that is character of a word, is often known as letter spacing. Sometimes it is mistaken for kindling, which is a space between two griefs only. So looking at these images, so this is when we said, oh, tracking is set to 0, and this is between 0 to 50. Sorry, I think that's minus 50. And well, the last one, the cow jumped over the moon. Last one is tracking is being set to 100. You can notice the difference between them, the spacing between each character. All right. So we also have the third one to be leading. So this is the distance between base lines of two lines of text. So this is being by adjusting the leading. So the use of space can be improved and the text can be read more easily and comfortably. Looking at the example here, you can see the spacing between the first line and the second line is basically comfortable and easier for users to read with. So imagine that it was closer than this, such that, oh, maybe the leg of the design, the G in the design will now be touching the C in the community, and likewise on the large part, the large and word, the G touching the Y on the community. So yeah, if it were to be without leading, the readability wouldn't have been improved. But since there was a leading on the line, so most of us we do this, but we don't actually know what the terminologies are. So the reason for this class also is for us to also know the terminology for each of these. We have kindling, we have tracking, and now we are also on to leading. And the last part of it is weight. Well, all of us, we know what weight is. Well, stand to be corrected. So font weight is generally referred to as the thickness of the character outline relative to its height. The thickness of the character outlines relative to the height or to their height. So a typeface may have many weights from ultra light to extra bold or black. So in CSS, that's in development, they know it by number. So they will have 600, 500. So, but well, in our own cases, we use regular, medium, we want it bold, and then we want it light, and the likes of it. So this is the number of the number and its respective wording. So 100 is thin, 200 light, 300 is book, 400 is regular, 500 medium, and so on and so forth. Okay, so how do we create typography style guide? How do we create typography style guide? All right, so the first step is to pick the type of family. So pick your type family, okay? And before you do that, ask yourself, will users be reading a lot of text, or do they need to skim and scan quickly? Or is this particular typography I want to choose, is the tone formal, or is it font, or is it friendly? So choose a type family that matches your product voice and also readable at both small and large screens. All right, and also test it across devices, because unfortunately some fonts don't scale well on low resolution screens. So there's some fonts you use well, it will look very okay on desktop, but if you now present the font on your mobile, it is nothing to write home about. Okay, so always test it across all devices before you use it. So here is just a readable image that you can, oh, you've seen that, yes, when it is small, when it is large, I can still read across it. All right, so when choosing your font, think about readability and make your choice. So the second one is always define your hierarchy. And how do we do this? So if we look at this image here, so we can see that the text here is your header. Well, the second one here could also be called an header, but most times we might refer to it as subheading. And if we look at the last part of it, which has size 300, it's called your body. So you can see the font related to it: regular 16 pixel, bold 24, extra bold and 57. All right, so what you should be asking in this case is what font and size should I use for heading, and what should I use for the body text, and what button captions and labels should I what typography should I use for captions, buttons and label. So always use clear size and weight, so that it will differentiate from what is what, from the button to the text, and also it will help users scan the screen and understand what is most important at just a single glance. All right, so let's look at document everything. So if you look at this image here, we can see that we have typography. Okay, we have it to be typography, and then there is a document here. If we look at the far right, we will see that the font is popping, that the weight is semi-bold, the size is 36, and the line height is 130%. Then light spacing is 0, and well, preferred tag is H1. Such that maybe if a developer is going to see this, you now know, oh, H1, that's what I'm supposed to use in my HTML. All right, so document your typography. So always think, document what font is used, where it is used, what size and spacing is used, and example of it in context. So you can look at the image here again. So you can see that the font used here is Poppins, which is being documented. Where is it being used? Okay, so well. So if we look at the top screen there, I think we've seen that we can use it on this section header of an home page. All right, it is there. So document where you want to use it and what size and spacing is used. You can see our size is 36 pixel. Then our spacing is 130 in terms of height, and in terms of letter spacing it is 0. All right, and also always attach an example of it in context. Looking at the bigger box here, you can see that the brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. That's a sample of how these poppings of semi-bold 36 pixel looks like. And the same thing goes with the 24 pixel. So document everything. So we look at common typography mistakes to avoid. Common typography mistakes to avoid. So we also have weight. Number one, weight and contrast. So don't use font weights that are too similar, like regular and medium side by side, because it will cause confusion. So instead, use normal and bold, light and semi-bold, and hard color to emphasize, not just weight. Okay, so if you want to show, oh, that the emphasis should be on this particular typography or this particular area, then increase it, make it bold, and also add maybe a color to also show that yes, this is where users should emphasize on or should focus on. So the second one is lack of breathing space. So don't crowd your line with text. Don't crowd it with text. So that is where we use leading. Okay, so that's where we use leading, which most in design in Figma it is called line height. Okay, so this is where it comes in. So use it to make reading comfortable. And poor hierarchy. So avoid font size that looks too similar. Make your hierarchy obvious. People should know, oh, that's a title and that's a subheading and that's a body. Okay, because if you look at this image that we have here, so looking at it, we now see the first one is our header. The second one can be our sub header, and then the last one here is actually our body text. All right, so don't use things that are similar so as not to confuse the users. And so tips and best practices. When choosing fonts, stick to 2 font families max and 3 font weight max. Don't take more than that. If you are using regular, use regular, medium, and maybe bold, or you're using thin, don't use regular, medium, semi-bold, bold, book, thin light. Don't use those. Just three, three, three weight is okay. And when choosing font, don't choose a Monstera, Poppins, Comforter, Roboto, and Sans. Don't oh, because you just want to flex around, don't choose it. Just stick to 2 font families. All right, so choose fonts that are easy to read. Don't choose signature kind of fonts. All right, and avoid all caps, because when you use all caps, that is capital letter, uppercase, it reduces scanning speed. When people are supposed to scan, oh, we're taking most time, like it reduces the speed. So go with title page, go with sentence cases, go with lower cases. All right, so keep line width short, not more than 2 sentences per line. Don't bombard your users with a lot of grammar. All right, so use font variations like size, weight, color for contrast, and not new font. Don't think of introducing new fonts because you want it to be more bold than what it is. And also build your typography system around readability and accessibility. All right, so recap and closing notes. So when it comes to color, here are the checklists you can always keep with you. Derive your colors from mood board or brand foundations. All right, and also make sure they pass accessibility standard, and think about your audience. That could be age limitation, culture, gender, and all colors and perception. And never use the same color for different intents. By using red for error, use red for error. Don't use red and not red for success again. All right, then don't assign a new color for every little element. You know, how to wish list. If you're using red color for it, then use red for color for it. If you're using yellow, use yellow. If you're using blue, use blue, and the likes of it. Don't in this particular product you're using red, then this other one you're using blue. Be consistent. All right, so a layout is more than just visual arrangement. It shows how your product communicates, guide and responds to the users. So use it wisely and also use it intentionally. And when creating a typography, the steps to follow are: create a mood board first. All right, and name all your fonts. You could name it with H1, H2, body, caption, etc. And also group your fonts by purpose. All right, then document where each style is used. Use no more than 2 type families. I emphasized on that before. Don't come and carry 3 or 4 type families to use on one design, on one product, is going to make your product looks funny. All right. So also test readability across devices and resolutions, and also stick to a scale. Like if you are using 10-point spacing, use 10-point spacing. If you are using 4, use 4. Is it for line? Let it be consistent. Is it for font? Let it also be consistent. All right. So before handing off your design to to developers, make sure that you've defined all breakpoints and also calculate column size, gutters, and safe areas for each screen. All right. And also make sure that your spacing is consistent, and also that your components align to the grids, and also that the system, and also document all your decisions so that it will make it easier for developers and all. All right. So the resources are here for you to go through. I couldn't exhaust everything. All right. Let's see. You can ask your question now. Goodness, you said okay. You said, can 2 fonts be used for one product? Yes, 2 fonts can be used for one product. Personally, when it comes to website, I use 2 fonts. Well, I use 2 fonts for my website. So one will be for my headers, and one is going to be for my body text. So that's how I combine them. So 2 fonts can be used for a product. All right. Any other question? All right, Mr. Yemi, please go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you, but your voice is a little bit down. Can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to ask two questions. Um, the last class you were talking about the font size that you use mostly in the clients. So you use
Can can you be a little bit more? It's still not a good sound production at my end.
wow.
It's better now.
Okay. So I said the last class you said you use font size 16 and 18 across for mobile designs.
No, 16 and 18 is not mobile. I use it for desktop.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because now you are saying that use a 8-point scale for even typography. So I am thinking of it. Headers, body, that would be like 1624. But I've seen cases just like the example you showed just now about the brown fox. I saw 36, I saw 24, I saw 16. So that's about 8, and then there's 12 there. That doesn't follow that 8.2. So I don't know if you can shed more light to number one. And then I don't know whether I should ask the second question already.
Hold on. Let me answer the first one, because I think I'm struggling to hear you. So if the increment, I said you can use 8-point system and you can use 4-point system. Okay. So if you have seen the increment should be either by 4 and either by 8. So I don't think for 12 to 12 16, that's 4. Yes, that's 4. So if you continue, that's 4-point system. So it's increasing by 4. So you can either use 4 or you can use 8.
Okay, so that means maybe every other thing on the line, maybe
Sorry, your voice is down again.
now can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so that means that for let's say for spacing and every other maybe for the layout and everything, you can do the 8-point system. but we can deliberately use 4.6 for typography in the same screen.
I can't really, I can't get that.
I will try.
Okay, please do. All right, Cheflo, so you say, okay, let me start with gift. So which font professional, playful, and the likes? Sorry, gifts, what do you mean? I can't really get that.
Sorry,
If you
I
can unmute.
sorry. Thank you for the class. I said which class, which fonts are the professional, the playful, the friendly, and others. And then maybe you want to tell us that popping is for this, enter is for and others too.
Okay, well, that will actually be up for you to decide as a designer. So which fonts do you actually want to use? That there are website and there are platforms or plugins that actually helps you with that too. If you want to perform font selections, and then to combine two fonts for you at the same time to see how to actually use it. Okay, so when it comes to designing a product, you can decide on which font you feel it's fitted. So you can decide to use Poppins. Poppins is professional. Is a professional. Most of the products that I've seen use Poppins. Then we have Roboto too, and well, Monsterite. Me personally, I like Monsterite, especially for heading and the likes of it. Then SARS, we have it for body and well, Comforter too, and there are plenty more. Comforter is playful because of how it is. It is playful and also flexible at the same time. So that will be up to you as as a designer to come um about it. All right. I hope that answers your question, Gift. Okay. Theophilus, you say can we use two primary? No, there's nothing like primary color, two primary color. You can only have one primary color and a secondary color. So there is no two primary color. It's one primary color, a secondary color, and asset, and the rest of it if you want to. So uh, just think of it as, oh, we are saying CodeCamp has two primary color, that they have blue and they also have uh, which color and red as another part of the primary color. So is not that is not so that is not ideal. So it's only one primary color and a secondary color. All right. Hope that answers your question, Theophilus. All right. Mr. Yemi, your question. Your question was, let me see your other question. It says, so can a 8-point system for layout arrangement, but for yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can use it. All right. So it's as far as it is moving, like it is in, let's say it's in the family of twos. All right. It is. All right, so you can use it. You can use 8-point system maybe for your layout and then 4 point for typography and the rest of it in the same screen. Yes, you can. It will still maintain consistency. All right. So is there a specific font for desktop headers and mobile headers? Well. Is there? No, there isn't. There are some headers that you see that maybe a designer might decide to use 100 point system. Then there are some that you see, oh, it depends on what you actually want to give out to the users. All right. So if the information, if your text is just 2 line or it's just three words, so in order to make it come out, you have to increase the font. The size has to be more than maybe that of maybe 6 to 7 words combined. So there is no specific font size for desktop. It varies as per the content you are using. All right. So can you use red as a button color? Red, yes, you can use red. If you look at what do you call it? Currently now on Zoom, if probably you were going on a particular you were looking at, what do I say it? You were on the chat, on the meeting chat, and then another message dropped on. You will see one new message there, and it is a red button they use there, which shows one new message, and it is red. So you can use red as a button color. And then if you actually want to cancel, you want to tell, oh, this is a destructive action. Well, yes, red, you can bring in red. That's what I was saying in terms of assets. So red there is for let's say error messages. And then if you want to, in most logouts, in most cases, in logout settings, they use red. So you can use red either as a field button, or you can also use it as either an outline. Okay. All right. So what if you, I hope that answers your question, Mr. Yemi. So goodness says, what if you want to use gradients of different colors as a primary color? Well, you can't use gradients of different color as a primary color. It's either you now join your primary color that has already existed with a secondary color, and also with maybe an asset color that already exists. Okay, so that's actually how you can use that. You can't just say, oh, that your gradient is your primary color. No. There is a color that makes up that your gradient. So that makes it, that color that makes it up, that's actually your primary color. The color that comes out the most is actually your primary color as per, oh, then the other color can now be your secondary color or asset color. All right. So Mr. Yemi, I mean, what if I don't want to use red as an asset color? So you mean using red as maybe a primary color, or can it? Hmm, that's a good question. Well, I think I've seen platform use red as a primary color. I've seen platform use red. If looking at Zoom, what do you think is Zoom color? Because if you enter Zoom, it's mostly two colors that you see in Zoom, and it is green and red. So looking at it, green looks like their primary color, and then red looks like, no, I think red is their primary color and green is their secondary color. Looking at Zoom, okay, so yes, it can be used. If you look at Zoom, yes, it has, that's their color combination. A different shade of red for error. Well, basically, yes, you can, because users already know red to be for errors. Like, so it would be strange for them to now come and see that an error message is carrying, okay, thank you, okay, Zoom is blue. Okay, that's true. Hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Goodness. So it will be strange for them to now say, okay, that blue is now carrying an error messages. So it is not what users are used to. So yes, if you are now you decide to use red as part of your main color, either primary color. Red cannot be used as a secondary color because the color is too bright already. So red will actually have to be your primary color. So if yes, then you can use a different shade of red as maybe an error state and the likes. Exactly. So red is Zenith Bank primary color. So that is it. So red can be used as a primary color. Red is actually is bright, so it falls under primary color. Red is a primary color. Okay, so any other question? Any other question? If not, then we will close for today. So if we notice, we've not talked about mood boards, and we've not talked about iconography. All right, so that is the two things that is left under this topic. Yeah, I think so. That we are going to discuss about it in our next class. Okay, so we've come to the end of today's class. Looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Okay, goodness, you've not been promoted, but you've been graded. Okay, just hold a minute.